What up, guys? It's Chris, back with a new video. This video I've been wanting to do for a while. So we are reviewing the all-car Tesla screen for the 370Z. Now there's a few videos out on this, and I've seen them, and I wanted to kind of touch on a few things that I don't think they may have hit. Now this is that they didn't give this unit to me. I actually paid out of this out of my own pocket because I wanted to do an honest review. Being somebody that's been in the car audio field for many years, I used to turn units like this away. They typically had many issues with wiring not working, fitment, all kinds of things. Software was just horrible. So I refused to do them. But I've seen a few reviews popping up on this particular unit for a while now, and they've been pretty positive. And so I thought, it's been a few years since I've messed with one, and I was kind of curious myself because I wanted to change up my setup. So went ahead, got it, and these are going to be my thoughts. Like I said, I do want to touch on a few things some other videos may not have hit. For example, I'll get into the fact that I don't think anybody else, at least online, has done this unit with external amp setups. Now I've got a small 4-channel amp with crossovers, components, and also an amp and sub as well. So I'll go over some of that. Now out of the box, it's pretty much plug and play for most people without doing that. But it does get a little different depending on how you're installing with some additional amps. So we'll go over that, and I also want to touch on some of the little things that some videos may have touched on, as far as, like changing the colors and some of the little settings that you want to get into, and also some quirks, because there are some quirks with this. It's not perfect. But with that being said, let's hop into it and go over the unit. Alright guys, let's go over some of the specs for this unit. It has a gorgeous 13.6 inch IPS display, an 8-core processor, 8 gigabytes RAM, and 120 gigabytes of ROM. It is running Android 11, which runs beautifully on this unit. It has the option for a 4G SIM, or you can tether to your phone's hotspot, which is personally what I do. It has open Bluetooth, which is great for some of those tuning apps. And it has full integration with your AC controls. Alright guys, so as far as a review on this unit, honestly, I really like it. The fit is absolutely phenomenal. I don't think I've ever had one of these car style kits that are made for the vehicle without like a dash kit or something actually fit as well as this one, so that's a bonus. Also, the software is really great. Usually Android units run on a much older version. The features are a little slim, it's buggy. This is really good. There's a little bit of lag, not much though, honestly. It's really quick, really responsive, even juggling multiple things. So a couple of different use cases for this. You can run split screen. So I've done with my Bluetooth dongle, my Autometer app, you could do Ecotech, whatever, and I'll touch on that a little bit more here in a little bit. But that along with CarPlay. Now there is a drawback, for example with CarPlay, CarPlay in general works really well. I use it pretty much exclusively. I juggle, text messages and phone calls and navigation ways, all that stuff. You can, when you switch to CarPlay in this, there's a little bit of a load time. It's longer than other units. Most other units that are dedicated It's pretty instantaneous. There's a little bit of load time. It's not horrible. However, when you do split screen with other pieces of software, every time you do that, it has to basically reload because it's reformatting itself to that new screen size, which one is great because it does it automatically. There's an option to ask you if you want to do that every time, or if you have to answer every time. I just clicked it, it does it automatically. But the downside of that is that it's going to cut off in the middle of whatever you're listening to, whatever you're doing, and it'll reload. It'll pick back up where it left off. It's not a big deal, it's not a deal breaker, but it is something to know about. Other than that, yeah, I've had full screen ways in CarPlay on the top with YouTube, Netflix, whatever on the bottom. The wife wants to ride on long trips to like ZCon or something, I can still have my navigation. She can have something playing, you know, on the bottom part of the screen. It's basically like having two separate screens. It's great. Same deal. I can have my larger than my old double din CarPlay on the bottom with my gauges and stuff on the top, where I can do full screen. It's a lot of flexibility with being able to do the split screen. It's probably my favorite feature, other than the CarPlay itself. I haven't tested Android Auto. I don't have an Android. I would assume it works pretty well. Other videos have gone over that. As far as everything else, again, it's Android, so you can download pretty much whatever you want. You can connect to Bluetooth for other devices. Again, I have my Bluetooth dongle. There are other OBD dongles that you can use with this. It works flawlessly, just like connecting to an Android tablet. It connects to Wi-Fi. Go on the Play Store, download whatever you want that works with Android, and you're good to go. A lot of flexibility. And again, runs on Android 11, so it's not the most up-to-date, but it's definitely more up-to-date than the older units that they had out. And everything so far that I've thrown at it, it's worked. Really love this unit. I'll touch on the install here in a second. Install was very, very straightforward. For most people, it's plug and play. Other videos have gone over this. You can check those out that are actually going to show the pictures of the plugs, but it's basically a plug into the back of the unit, plug into your factory harness. There's a ground wire, and then depending on if you're doing a backup camera, you gotta connect that if you've already have one ran, or if it's got factory, there are plugs for that. This works for base, the tech package with nav, Nismo, whatever you have, it'll work, which is also a plus, because before it was a lot of workarounds to get if you had the factory nav, mainly because the AC controls, it's a different interface, different digital interface than the non-tech package, and there were some repinning and some stuff that was involved that's doable, but not really for the everyday person. This works with both. It comes with everything you need depending on which dashboard you have. Cons for some people, you lose the cubby. I personally had gotten rid of the cubby a long time ago. I didn't need it. I was running an iPad setup, which sort of was pretty much doing what I use this for, but with two separate screens, and they didn't communicate with each other, and this is a much cleaner look.
So, going over the AC controls, works pretty simply. You do have touchscreen capabilities now for all of your different modes, temp control, fan speed, all of that. But however, you also have the physical buttons. It works very similar to how it was stock. They just changed some of the knobs to buttons. However, your center knob still does control your temperature, and the outside knob controls your fan speed separately. And that's pretty much all the difference there is. Now, another thing that you can do, here are a couple of things actually we want to go over. You can add a front camera to this. I didn't see anything videos about this. It doesn't have a dedicated camera input, but it does have the aux, which works just fine. I do have a front camera, which you can switch by using the multitasking screen. Seems to be the most simple as far as that goes. Now, as far as starting CarPlay for the first time, it's very simple. There is a Car Auto app that you can go to. The first time you will need to connect to Bluetooth. Alright, a couple of other things. Once you get into your main settings, you are going to want to change your units. This is going to affect the AC, temperature, all of that stuff. So you're going to switch that to US. Of course, you can go to the radio region, change that to North America, all kinds of things. And that's how you do that. There's an audio section. This is where you'll get your equalizer. You can customize all of this. One thing is you do actually have subwoofer gain. If you have that amp connected, it's just on that second screen there. You have a video tab. This just allows you to play video while running. You also are able to change your boot logo. I didn't see any videos on this, but it's very simple. You just download pictures. Once you have that in your downloads, you can change that. Now, a lot of people are also wondering how you change the AC control knob color. You just go into the app for the ambient light control. You have all different kind of presets, and you can customize it. The factory amber, I just selected red and then added a couple of spots of green to basically turn it to amber. Very straightforward. Now, also, one little thing that was bugging me, and I've seen in other videos, is that little guy that's hanging out, the voice assistant. This little guy right here. You want to get rid of him, you just go into that voice app and turn the floating icon off. Very easy.
As far as installing otherwise with, like I said, additional amps. So it does have some pre-outs for you. It has one sub pre-out, so most amps are going to require two, so you're going to need to use a splitter. This isn't super uncommon, it's not ideal, but there are some Sony units that I've had that are still out on the market that are really good units, but had one sub pre-out. So again, you'd use a splitter for that. Not a big deal. And it has front left and right, rear left and right outputs. You can use that as well for like a 4-channel amp. Now, depending on, again, if you have components or if you're running your 4-channel through factory wiring, for example, you had spliced into those, you might have to splice into this. It really depends on if you're running wires or not. I personally had ran a small Alpine power pack, which is a small 4-channel amp, and I have them running to components for the front speakers and the tweeters and the dash. So basically I had that for the factory door speakers. I had those running through the factory wires and had spliced in. So I had to cut the outputs and the inputs, the high-level outputs and inputs on the harness that comes with the all-car unit, and just ran my outputs to the amp, high level, and then back into, I just made a loop because I didn't use the RCA harness on the previous unit that I had. It wasn't set up for that. It didn't have enough outputs. But if you had RCAs, that would eliminate that particular piece, and then again you could run wires, or you could still tap in, again, splice your outputs into the car side. Not that bad. Otherwise, it works pretty well with the EQ. And sound quality wise is really good with these amps. Again, a lot of that is the amp and component setups. The source unit isn't horrible. It's not great. It's definitely not like a high-end head unit. That's not what this is for, sound quality. The gain on it, high level, is pretty high. Some users have mentioned in some of their videos that there's some noise when the volume's off. There is. It's not super noticeable even to me, and I've been doing this kind of stuff for a while, so I wouldn't really worry about it. But again, there's filters and stuff that you can use if it were that bad for you. So yeah, install is pretty great as well, even with additional amps. It does have the gain control, which I was wondering, watching some other videos with, when they went on the EQ screen, and even some of the pictures on their website, I didn't see any built-in gain control for like your sub. It's just on a different screen, and I'll show that. But good news is you don't have to run a separate bass knob if that was something that you needed to do and were concerned with. So yeah. So there is one major quirk that I've run across with this, and it's the steering wheel controls. Now, it says it works out of the box, and it does. I haven't seen any other videos that have gone over this, but for me, the track up and track down buttons are reversed. I'm pretty sure that's the case. When I got the car, it had steering wheel control unit in it with a very, very cheap aftermarket radio, and it worked a certain way. But I've swapped it out. I even switched out to a different steering wheel control module that allowed me to program some things the way that I liked, and again, worked the same. It's been a while since I've been in a stock 370, so I don't have any way to compare right now, but also it just seems to make sense, the way that it used to work versus now. And you guys can correct me in the comments, but the way it works right now is pressing down on the button goes to the next track, pressing up goes back. Volume and everything works the same. Same with source. It used to be the other way around. Now that being said, two things. I've gotten really used to it. It only took a day. It's kind of like how some vehicles with their auto shifters, where you can shift gears, some of them to shift up a gear, you press up, some of them you press down. It's just different by the automakers. So just switching my brain around to do one or the other, it took me like twice before I was like, okay, this is what I got to do now. There are some settings in this unit that supposedly allow you to change the steering wheel control setup. Actually, two different places that I looked at, neither of which seem to make a difference, and that is including resetting, because again, on these settings, when you make a change like the units and from Fahrenheit to Celsius or whatever, you have to reboot the unit, and then it takes. None of that took. I have reached out to Alcar. Now here's the other minor gripe, and this may matter to some people or not. They did get back to me. I had emailed them wanting to know if I have WhatsApp. And they always, being on the opposite side of the world, it's like 3 in the morning. To me, this isn't that big of a deal to deal with that. I'm not downloading WhatsApp because I don't have it. I'm not dealing with chat like that, and I'm also not dealing with them responding to me at 3 in the morning while I'm trying to sleep just to figure this out. So if anybody knows how to change this in the settings and get it to work, I'd appreciate it. Leave it in the comments. But otherwise, that's the only quirk that I ran into as far as stuff not working the way it should. Everything else works great. Again, some things are a little slower. That's not a big deal. They still work. So overall, I give this, I don't have a score for it, but it's definitely a good unit. I'm going to keep it. and keep it and run it. For me, the usability that I have with this to be able to run multiple things at the same time, all of my gauges and things like that, along with CarPlay, which is what I use it most for, and for long trips, being able to watch videos while navigating. And honestly, it just looks amazing. The software is snappy. I haven't really had too many issues, so I'm digging it. I give it, I guess, an A+, as far as units go. Definitely recommend it. Check them out. It's AWCAR. They also have a Nifty City version. Apparently they're the same. I don't know, but either way, it's a good way to go. Thanks for watching. If you liked it, give it a like. Subscribe if you're not subscribed, and feel free to share. Thanks for watching, guys.